Thank you for joining us as we prep for game number 2. It's Cloud9 versus OpTic Gaming, and we will start by looking at the starting rosters. Selecting blue side is going to be Cloud9. Their top laner, Licorice. Starting up in the jungle today is Blabber. New look here in the summer split. Niski in mid, bot lane Sneaky with support Zazel, and their coach Reaper.
And facing them on the red side today, it's the undefeated OpTic Gaming. In the top lane, Dokla. In the jungle, Meteos. Mid laner, Crown. Bot and support going to be Arrow and Big with coaches Zabutin and Croissant.
And of course, today we have the biggest powerhouse in the LCS, and they are facing off against Cloud9. That's right, OpTic are the #1 team right now. They are 4-0, looking unstoppable.
I mean, they've been crushing it so far this season. Really, I think, surprising a lot of people. There are questions, though, about the strength of schedule. And, you know, this team's meteoric rise has been very, very impressive. And largely, I think, on the back of Crown and Meteos, who've been playing incredibly well. But they have found kind of a new play style that has really fit for them, right? It's Dokla on tanks. It's Crown being the split pusher. The bot lane has been very solid. And now we have to kind of test this new look against one of the top teams.
Yep, and of course they're going against one of the top teams. They're facing probably, actually I should say, their toughest opponent yet. They are up against Cloud9, and C9 are very, very tough to beat.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, yes, they lost the Golden Guardians last Sunday. It was kind of the result, I think, of some sloppy play around the Baron, but not really a massive cause for concern. Svenskeren has been absolutely crushing it for Cloud9. I think he had been the best performing jungler in the split so far. You know, look at all these stats. These are all different stats that he is actually first among all junglers in. He has been a dominant force, which to me makes it even more interesting that they are subbing in Blabber, that they are trying out a different look. Certainly, you know, not for performance reasons. We couldn't even fit all the things he's first in on one slide. There had to be a second. But Blabber going to be coming in, you know, didn't really see much, if any, play in spring, but was used heavily in 2018. So, you know, going to be having Blabber back on stage. Certainly known and really well respected for his Kindred play, for his very aggressive play. And that is, I think, what a lot of people think of when they think of Blabber. So it'll be interesting to see if it is going to be a really heavily ramped up game with him subbing in for the squad. You know, if they want to be trying to play things like the Zillion Kindred that they were kind of really famous for.
Yep, and to reiterate, those are the shoes that Blabber was filling. The graphic you saw was things that Svenskeren clowned everyone else on. And he's got to be able to handle this one right now. And again, it's against a 4-0 team who has improved, who have found a style that works for them. And it's going to be a really exciting battle here. Cloud9 were one of the big top teams we thought about. The big story for us coming into the summer split was, well, the top 3 look pretty secure in Team Liquid, TSM, and Cloud9. Not necessarily in that order. They were all very close together. C9 are the only one of those 3 who had a winning record coming into this week's games, that they're 3-1 coming in.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, that's very surprising. We actually got to have, you know, Licorice and Sneaky on cooldown last Sunday, and even they were saying they were quite surprised about, you know, the performances thus far from those top 3 teams. Pretty much everyone across the board was expecting, yeah, TSM, Liquid, C9, they will be dominating, but it is OpTic at the top of the table, and they are looking to maintain this undefeated record. I think, you know, OpTic thus far has had a great start. But if they can take down Cloud9 here as well, you know, beating this team that is just behind them in the standings, I think that answers even more questions about, you know, where is this team's limit? How good really are they? Did they just have, you know, these easy couple first weeks?
Yep, and a big thing I'm looking for is Meteos to start the game either 1-0-0 or 0-0-1 so we can tie his Cloud9 2013 summer KDA of 12.7. If he starts with a death, I'm sad.
Yeah, definitely would be sad times there for Meteos, but I also like some of these bans here coming out from Cloud9. We have talked a lot about banning the team, not necessarily just what is the meta, and so many people have been kind of just, I think, autopilot banning, well, you ban the flex picks and Yuumi, and that's what you ban. And you know, Dokla has had so much success on Poppy, take that off the table. Meteos has been incredibly good on Sejuani, as well as Olaf. Well, those are gone too, right? So, you know, Cloud9 is heavily targeting the players. These are not meta bans whatsoever. This is bans against OpTic, and I do tend to think this makes a lot of sense. Some people were talking about, well, should he be banning the TF? I think Crown can play a lot of different styles. I think that OpTic has not shown that they can play heavily around that top lane. So now the question becomes, does Dokla have a replacement tank that they're going to put him on, or do they then default back to carries, which is much more that spring look for OpTic, which really had not been working out for them?
Yeah, one thing I think is interesting as well, you mentioned the bans coming out for C9, their prep essentially. OpTic are a team that actually had been choosing red side when given the option in order to get some of those late counter picks in the draft. C9 had selection, they chose blue. Yes, they target ban, they made sure they could drop off some of the things that they cared about, but they chose blue team here. They have insta-lock for Gragas Yasuo. That's exciting to go alongside the Akali. So you mentioned a high-paced game. That's happening.
Yeah, and you know what's really funny? I mentioned cooldown earlier. This was the Cloud9 Academy draft from last Sunday that they played on stage, was the Gragas Yasuo, and that was Blabber playing the Gragas, so this may very well be why he is subbing in on stage for this specific strategy. Perhaps he is more practiced with it. This is something that they got to bring out and is really, really exciting to see this already. Such an explosive lineup drafted in these early picks here from Cloud9. And one of the really cool things about Gragas and his interactions with Yuumi is when Yuumi actually does jump onto another member, if you body slam ult them both in, that is essentially like kind of that 2-for-1 ult there.
Yeah. If
you can pick off, say, that Sivir, if she can get body slammed in, Yuumi can then be stranded sometimes too far away from the rest of the team if you can separate her out. And when she is without someone to actually latch onto, Yuumi is very squishy and can get knocked down quite easily.
Gains can be had. We'll see how it plays out in the game itself. Second round of bans are coming through as OpTic now have to look at the fact that Cloud9 needs a bottom lane, and Cloud9 look at the fact that OpTic need a top laner and a jungler. So you're going to see the Lissandra get dropped off the table. We'll see what comes in next.
Yeah, I do have to mention Ryze obviously could be going top. We are expecting this to be Crown. He has been the split pusher. He has been the go-to carry, the guy that OpTic is really prioritizing getting ahead. This is also what CLG ran when they got Yuumi. In week 1, they actually ran Yuumi Sivir. They had an incredibly successful game with that, really were taking over. And Arrow and Big have been, I think, stepping up thus far this split. So they are going to have their opportunity to kind of carry the game here too from the bottom side.
OpTic giving Cloud9 the chance to play Xayah solo. The Rakan ban, the Alistar ban drops some Zeyzal engage options, and specifically their supports with knockups on the kit, but there's still Nautilus, there's still several other options out there. Kennen is another top lane ban that's been thrown at Dokla.
You can go Nautilus, but Nautilus never feels good to play into Sivir. It's so damn easy to spell shield that ultimate that it feels like you're just never able to actually hit it. I do think Skarner would make a lot of sense here for Meteos, kind of plugging playing another Cinderhulk jungler in there, someone who can be fairly tanky alongside that Sejuani, which he has had so much success on, and they're actually going to save solo lane pick for last. No huge surprise there. The main question on my mind is still really, do they have a replacement tank for Dokla, or is it going to be another carry trying to save that for the last pick? Sneaky, considering Ezreal here, would mean that you're going to be playing a more defensive lane. Ezreal Braum is about as defensive as it gets, but I think that makes sense when you're playing Yasuo and Akali alongside Gragas. Your jungler wants to be giving attention to those solo lanes, and bot lane likely going to be on an island. They're just saying, okay, you guys go down to the bottom side, survive in that 2v2 or potentially 3v2 if jungler is coming down. Braum can also block the Yuumi Qs with the shield. You can actually stop a lot of those there. Likely going to be seeing Guardian as well, so a lot of ways to kind of prevent that. But GP taken here for Dokla, so it will be a carry. No backup tank, to kind of follow up after that Poppy. Gangplank is seen as a fairly good matchup into that Akali. You can hit barrels in the Shroud pretty effectively. That being said, if you do fall behind, Akali definitely has all-in potential, especially alongside someone like the Gragas who can play aggressively. But this to me says you actually want to play through bot, GP survive on an island up on the top side, use your ultimates down to the bottom lane, utilize Crown to be out in the side lane and kind of bringing in perhaps Skarner with those Realm Warps to even attack that bottom lane. This is going to be a really, really exciting game. I do think Cloud9 have a very explosive draft, but it's one that's so much harder, I think, to pull off with Yasuo and Akali having to dash through this team and dive into this team, and there's so much CC between Yuumi's ultimate, the Ryze route, the Skarner ultimate. They have to play it really well.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one to pilot for Cloud9, but we'll see if they can do it. The third place team from the spring split against OpTic, who have missed playoffs, but are 4-0 and looking sharp so far. The last comments from the coaches, they will leave the teams, and it's up to these 10 players on the Rift to figure out what they can do. Blabber subbing in for the best performing jungler of the summer split. C9 against arguably their toughest competition so far with this OpTic gaming squad, who in summer have really found a playstyle that works for them. This time around though, no tank, no Poppy allowed for Dokla. He is on a squishier carry, And these teams are focusing on different sides of the map. Who's going to execute better? We're going to find out. We are into the game. Let's see who wins between Cloud9 and OpTic Gaming.
And I will say, if you're going to play a carry, based on the style that we have seen OpTic playing, GP makes a lot of sense. You know, the big criticism I had for them playing carries in top lane was they don't play to that side of the lane. They don't play to that side of the map. GP doesn't need it.
But we will have an inside word with OpTic as page time. Zat with Zabutin.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Zabutin, the coach of OpTic. Zabutin, OpTic undefeated still coming into this weekend, but have to play Cloud9 today. Did you get the draft you wanted to keep the undefeated streak alive?
I'm really surprised from the draft of C9. They kind of super target ban the comps we used in the past. We have a lot of tools in our comp. We'll see how it goes. It's a very slow comp, but I think we have chances to win. I think it's a 50-50 draft, to be honest.
Anything that wasn't expected, given that they are playing the C9 A special in Gragas and Yasuo?
No, we used to be a bad team. We played C9 Academy a lot, so we're used to it. No worries.
All right, well, Zabutin, thank you very much, and best of luck for the game. We'll get back to the casters for the call.
I love that.
Yeah, a little bit of a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
C9 Academy, though, to be fair, you know, he's kind of self-deprecating there a little bit, but a lot of people have been telling me that C9 Academy, especially last split, was actually just beating a lot of the LCS teams in scrims, and a lot of people use C9's Academy team as a scrim partner because they had so many talented players. So, you know, OpTic saying they have come up against this strategy, as Page Time alluded to there. It is something that C9 Academy does like to use. Going to be excited to see if they can pull it off here.
It's going to start with some harass towards Sneaky. Back to full HP here, but this is going to be... Whoop! Guardian popped and blocking all the damage.
Yeah, that boomerang blade is pretty far wide.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
The rest will be fine. The rest will be fine. Don't worry about it. Look at that. Look at that aim.
And this is why people hate Yumi Sivir. Not only is that Q that kind of, you know, you can drive it through the minions and actually connect. The only way to really escape it is just running straight away and getting outside of the range, but even then you're going to be missing minions. And when you do hit the slow, it makes it that much easier to actually hit the boomerang blade as a follow-up. So it's a very powerful combo, but as we see additional levels coming in here for C9, the Braum shield can be fairly effective, and as expected, he is running Guardian there to kind of help deal with some of that poke.
Early ward comes out for Niski, but this is... One of the fun things about junglers going early sweeper now is the fact that so many of those wards are... like they're so rote. Every pro does them at the same time every game. And you're like, well, even if I didn't see you put it down, I will always clear this ward out, and a free zombie ward shows up in his place.
Yeah, it's pretty nicely done from there. You can also notice that both the C9 solo laners have gone fleet footwork to deal with some of the poke. They are both melee champions, and they're going to be dealing with champions that can harass them fairly heavily. You know, Grasp, GP. If you can get whittled down too much, it starts to get very, very difficult when you no longer have access to the minion waves. So taking fleet there is going to be pretty helpful for Akali, and likewise, Yasuo also going Doran's shield as well as that fleet. So a lot of focus on sustain and just surviving these lanes you can see across the board here from Cloud9.
And there's the shield you mentioned coming out from Zeyzal. Tanks the entire propelling projectile. Eats part of the first half of Sivir Q, and out he goes. Not too bad there, as Big also puts in a couple auto attacks, gets the shield, and trades pretty well.
But look at the farm. You know, the farm already, you know, more than a full wave ahead here for OpTic. So that is very significant. You know, in these early levels, C9 is having to play it so far back, so far very defensively. Here comes Blabber.
Looking at top side, playing around the barrel. A nice slow comes in, find that stun.
Perfect.
They're going to have almost a dive, but he eats the oranges. And everything is K. Douglas gets out of the top lane.
Dokla does survive there, but that was actually beautiful from Blabber. You notice how he held onto the body slam until GP flashed, and because he was playing to the right side of Gangplank, he didn't even need to flash follow, so that was actually a very beautiful gank there from Blabber. Really well played. Dokla, though, well-timed orange, and will use the flash to get out still. That does mean both summoners down here for Dokla, and he's going to have to be a lot more careful in these next couple minutes.
All right, now this minion wave would push toward Dokla based on the fact that Licorice has more plus that healthier cannon, so it's probably going to have to be a TP coming in, and indeed it is. Wants to make sure he can match the full health bar with double longsword to make him feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, and I think Licorice is actually trying to hold the wave in such a way that, you know, Dokla has to step forward and kind of expose himself to any potential aggression. You know, when you do have it pushing a little bit towards you as it was there, it certainly can be a dangerous spot for GP, and if you do not know where Gragas is, you've got to be very careful, but this bottom lane lead is honestly really concerning. That is almost a second turret plate going down already at 5 minutes. and they're down a lot of farm. They're down essentially 2 waves of farm. That is a really big deal this early on, and you can see it expressing itself in that gold.
It's TP up for both of these bot laners, so if they ever run out of mana or health or whatever, it's going to be TP right back in the lane and stay, present there. You've got actually decent recall already for Arrow if you want it. You can pick either of the medium tier attack damage items without problem. A Sheen or a Tier is there for Sneaky, so it's not a terrible recall at any point in time for either one of these players if they need it. But regardless, of course, if you can keep Ezreal losing 10% of all farm, you want to keep going there.
Yeah, totally. And if you can actually just push him under the turret and then be able to recall and save your TP, that's even better, right? If you can force him back, and thus far it looks like they are going to be forced back to base. Meteos just showed him warded, and that was all that it required to actually push them off because they were very nervous about a potential dive. This is going to be a 3rd turret play going the way of OpTic before that first recall, very likely here. Azazel stepping forward will be able to prevent that for now, but this is on pace for like an 8-minute turret. That is so concerning, and Sneaky has already used his TP. He's down below half health as he eats both sides of the Boomerang Blade, and now a Q, they're getting absolutely roasted in the bottom lane.
And Sneaky went for the greedier build. He went for the Sheen, or I should say the more power now build, which is the Sheen right away and not stacking the tier. So he's going for power to try to stay alive. Meteos, though, just found out at the bottom river out of nowhere, and First Blood turns all the fates around back to Tide Gold. Cloud9 on the board with a kill on Niski.
Yeah, and that is a really big kill to get on the Yasuo. You're also going to be able to turn that into an Infernal. If your mid and jungle start getting more priority, that means the bottom lane, it's more dangerous for them to push for OpTic. So, a lot of good done by that one kill for the side of Cloud9. And Arrow going to be rushing towards an Essence Reaper double longsword plus the pickaxe is a ton of AD here. So if he does get access to that turret, he will be shredding through it. But here it is one more time. Body slam flash, I'm guessing, because I did see the flash was down. Yep, that is just perfect. Out of vision, there's no way you can ever react to that from Meteos. Body slam flash from Fog. Really well done.
Send your big plays. Hashtag LCS big plays at LCS official. New Twitter account, who dis for the LCS. And now it's a top lane fight. Oranges pop, but way too much damage. Licorice bites down, and now Meteos on the chase. Has Smite, has a red buff. Forcing a flash out of Licorice, but Predator's still on. Not going to find any kills, and that is a clean 1-for-0 solo kill for Licorice.
Yeah, and that is the result of that earlier jungle pressure. He did not have his flash to actually survive a potential all-in. Blabber getting a lot of work done already here, involved essentially in that top lane kill as well as that first blood. So really off to a good start.
He just swept a brush that he had a control ward in, but he's going to find a ward afterwards anyway, so he's fine, but that's a little quizzical. Regardless, he gets it down, and the gank is turned off.
Yeah, going to be pushed back into his jungle. We'll get to see this one more time. Again, Licorice has summoner advantage. Does have the passive auto there. Ultimate through, hits the E for the flip back. That is actually so clean. Rotating through the empowered autos there, hitting everything perfectly from Licorice. And here's the pro view of this one more time. Remember that passive auto not used on the barrel, so he knocked down the barrel to stop any potential trade back. And that is so well done there from Licorice, and definitely concerning to be going down that early on. Dokla, again, not going a very defensive build. It is on Sheen, so he's going to be having to play very carefully next time Ultimate is up.
Yeah, and that was, of course, with Grasp as the keystone pick, which is the, the very common one for matchups like this, where you get a lot of extra pressure, and that's been turned around. As you mentioned, the gank from before did mean a lot there. No flash, no escape.
Yeah, and it's also important that GP Ultimate was actually blown on the top side, right?
Yeah.
He used that in defense. It's such a long cooldown in the early levels, and generally when you're playing GP, you want to use that to the bottom side. Your bottom lane is doing very well, is pushing, has taken 3 tower plates, has a CS advantage. That would be where you'd want to really utilize that, and instead not going to be able to pull that off just yet. Blabber now, though, is 6, and that is really big. Sets up so easily for the Yasuo. And you can see Niski has his Ignite available. So, after Niski gets a buy, which he has just gone back for, there is potential for them to look for kills around mid lane.
They're going to find a lot right here. Right now it's a 300 gold difference, putting C9 ahead as they have the kills, but not the farm in all these cases. You still got a almost 20 CS difference in the bot lane, but it feels like it's stabilizing slightly. It feels like Sneaky's able to get some of this farm, but this plate, there's only 2 left, and the first one's going to fall in a couple auto attacks. The Prowling Projectile can't quite find the mark. Zazel sits right in the middle of the circle, and he's going to be okay.
Yeah, well done there. It is getting very, very low, and Meteos walked through 2 pink wards to get here, so very likely they did not actually spot him. But Cloud9 playing this pretty safe. They are going to be backing off. Blabber coming over here to try to help defend. Sneaky did go back to base. Meteos will just go right back to farming. Looks like they're not willing to try to push forward into this. They want to match recalls with Sneaky and make sure that they keep up any potential item advantages.
Yeah, I like that. You still got plenty of time. You still got about 3 minutes till those last 2 plates fall. You don't need to rush for it. Yeah, exactly. Item combined is a great time to recall. That's going to feel pretty good. And with 133 gold to spare after the control ward, that was about the earliest you could have done it. Solid stuff. It is very similar sort of to the TL game we had, which is very much bot lane is winning on one side. The rest of the game a little bit out of sorts. And, well, the bot lane was enough for the TL win. We'll see how it goes in the OpTic side here, as normally they've been winning through Crown, who is... well, it's not like he's died, but, you know, with the first blood of Niski, he is down in gold.
I would say, you know, they're not... OpTic certainly isn't as good of a position, though, as TL. You know, in that game, it was Impacted Viper very even. This game, it is, you know, your top laner already having been solo killed in a snowbally matchup, which is always concerning, and you know, he's going to have to play very safe as a result. But that being said, we all know if GP can make it to Triforce, you can start one-shotting some backline casters, you can start really kind of stabilizing a lot of those lanes, and just kind of waiting for Blabber's next move, because OpTic have done a good job of maintaining vision in this river, you know, all along that area. It is now being heavily cleared out by C9, and that is going to allow C9 to try to make some more plays, because there had been, you know, 3-4 control wards in the river. Now there is just that lone one remaining on the bottom side for OpTic.
Get another trade in the top lane as Licorice ease backwards, starts the trade, puts him in half, and goes right back out. There's plate number 4 off the bottom lane, and auto attack still coming through. This is a very comfortable siege for OpTic here, as Arrow is one of the players to step up a lot in this summer split. 25 CS lead, plenty of health bar up as well, and this turret is falling very soon. C9 able to get stuff done on the top side, though. It's Blabber finishing off on Rift Herald, and that might mean a race for first turret, or at least some plates on their own side. Yeah. But look at this, Meteos also taking down this mountain trade. Right? Still take Infernal, generally speaking, but that's something we picked up. There is first turret, there is all 5 plates in the bottom lane. And Zivir will pop, means the roots come by as well. They might just have the damage. Zazel forced a flash after burning his own ultimate, and a lot is lost, but also Dokla taking down in the top side. That is a great gank for Blabber, and Herald could easily follow.
Yeah, they needed to try to force something on the other side of the map. They're even going to be able to get this down before the plates fall, so we'll be able to trade some gold back. And despite the fact that OpTic is winning so heavily on that bottom side, we're seeing the power of Yumi. We're seeing why this champion is getting banned out every single game. And Cloud9, certainly a big cost to let it through this draft thus far. Yep. But Blabber is being proactive. You now have a 2-0 Akali. You took down 4 plates on the top side. Your Yasuo is also ahead, and it's just going to be kind of this, you know, tale of 2 lanes, really.
Yeah.
It's the solos for C9 up against the bottom lane here for OpTic. And here this is one more time. Blabber coming up to that top side. Barrel gets knocked down. Body slam. Flash. Utilizing the stopwatch to stay alive. Licorice does finish it off, and then you can see him tanking up the turret to allow Blabber to walk out.
Yeah, pretty cleanly done right there. Stopwatch, obviously a very big deal. You mentioned the tale of 2 lanes and how that went. And this was C9's draft, right? They left up Yumi. They first picked the Akali. They put a bunch of jungle bands onto Meteos, who has yet to find their way, who has yet to find his way in by being pushed down. This was the C9 plan. The lanes they drafted for, the first 3 champs they picked, those are the ones who are winning. And the champs they left up, that OpTic got to grab the Sivir Yumi and then throw a bunch of support bands. That's the spot that OpTic's winning in. As we heard Zabutin say, he thinks it's a 50-50 draft, and kind of seeing where the advantages are split, this kind of lines up where you've got a winning bot lane versus a winning solos.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, now it's just reliance on those characters and kind of seeing who can get the most done. You know, you can see Arrow is the richest character in the game right now, you know, sitting at 5,800 gold, but top side of the map, all very, very strong for Cloud9. You know, Blabber, Licorice, Niski, all looking really good thus far in this game. And it's going to be who can execute better in the team fights, who can actually, you know, make good on their lead. Blabber, though, caught out here.
Found. He's Rune Prince. They're going to fight him over the wall. Next supposed to gas by some space. He's going to have enough now. Over the top goes this Yasuo. Plenty of damage is found there. The stun. Looking to knock down Meteos. Knocking him just yet. Finally knocking him down. And now over the top comes the rest of the squad. Crown has to run, but he has been found out. But Akali, does she have the damage? He's got a shield. a trade, 1-for-1. The fight still continues, though. A slow and a sneaky. Look at the boomerang play to catch right back up to him. Now Niski has to make it happen, but he's taking so much damage, they will chop him down in OpTic. They keep their bot laner alive, and they win that fight.
Yeah, really well done. That was a costly misplay from Licorice. He actually missed his Q, I do believe, onto Crown. That would have executed him. Allowed Crown to get one more combo out, one more spell rotation. That did take him down, and you saw Yuumi standing so strong in this fight. Blabber, remember, no flash, no stopwatch. He used those for the dive, so he's in full retreat, but he gets knocked down so quickly. Then the ultimate from Yasuo comes through, but it is only onto Meteos. Licorice arrives, and we'll try to see if he did in fact miss this last Q onto Crown. He goes forward. Yeah, the Q was on the wrong side of him, behind him. I think he was anticipating Crown to be continually moving. Crown, though, stopped in place. That last Q misses. Ryze gets one more combo out and just knocks him down. And then Niski trying to get that kill. Not quite enough damage. So much sustain from this Yuumi, utilizing double defensive summoners, the constant Zoomies heal.
Yep.
And he was really effective in that fight. And now Arrow getting pretty damn close to his IE at this point in the game. He is so strong. That is such an incredibly expensive and powerful 2-item spike that if you can get that early on, you can be running through these team fights.
Under 1,000 gold to go to the next gigantic power spike for Arrow. A 4-2 team fight. The entire bottom lane deathless. If OpTic are to win, it will be most likely because of them based on how this game is going. C9 still looking pretty good in their solos, but we're seeing more happen as Meteos will knock down a ward. Big helps that happen, and now it's Explosive Cast not finding the mark, though, and Niski will not get to engage.
Yeah, not going to be able to find that. Meteos able to dodge out to the other side, utilizing the Sivir ultimate for that additional move speed. But now Arrow is alone here. Niski's going in.
Baits out the spell shoot, but didn't have enough time left. Tornado was falling off, but that's a trade of blows, but plenty of damage dealt by the Sivir. So many attack damage items there.
Yeah, and Sivir could very easily just go into a PD third, something along those lines. I think are very powerful against this sort of a team when you have multiple people who are trying to dive onto you, Yasuo as well as Licorice. And C9 are going to have to be very effective with how they enter the fights. I do think that you need a very effective initial ultimate or initial dive forward, and it can't just be on Meteos as it was in that previous fight. You have to be killing, it feels like, Crown or Arrow immediately to really be able to win that sort of a 5v5. Otherwise, I am very much so expecting C9 to kind of just get worn down in these team fights.
Well, power spikes coming through. Not quite the Iceborne Gauntlet, but you have Gunblade plus QSS for Licorice.
Yeah.
You've got Roa Sork Shoes, that's pretty solid. Trinity Force done for Dokla is quite nice. Inferno Direct picked up. It's still so much pressure in the mid lane that OpTic completely owned that spot of the map.
Yeah, and seeing the QSS come out, it is a smart buy because there's so much CC on the side of OpTic, so you have to do it if you want to be diving in as Licorice. But that being said, Meteos, who is behind on Skarner, he's 0-2-1. He is forcing that much gold, 1,300 gold being spent on the QSS, and that is that much less power you have to actually try to one combo the Sivir, and that's who you have to try to kill, right? So, even the fact that they just have a Skarner is helping to protect this really powerful Sivir just as far as itemization goes.
Skarner tax paid on one as close one there. Rev goes over. That should be enough gold in inventory for Arrow to finish Infinity Edge, but there's nothing to fight for just yet. Baron comes up in a minute and a half. That's probably when you want to reset. 20-minute Baron's not that common, but you might as well play Provision around that point in time as the mini wave is gone, and we'll see when Arrow puts the recall through, but it should be fairly soon.
Yeah, I've also got to say, I've really been liking how Big and Meteos have been actually pairing up and utilizing this Yuumi. So, they've been kind of moving the Skarner around the map and having Yuumi check all the brushes ahead of him with the Q. He's just shooting Qs into all the brushes, checking, making sure that it's clear. Then Meteos steps forward, clears out the ward. Then they check another brush with a Q. They move forward, and they're kind of just rinsing and repeating to fight for vision, which is a very safe way to do it. Becomes incredibly difficult to kind of lay a trap on the side of C9 unless you really are willing to hard commit with a flash, body slam, or that type of a play.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of resources required for C9 to get those dedicated openings in. We'll see what happens there as we are into the side lanes. And, well, no one's really trying to answer a call. He heads up. She's such a good 1v1 fighter that the space is being given. Doku's going to take his own Gromp and run right back down to clear the wave at the bot lane. With the Triforce you mentioned, he's able to clear the waves, no problem, and, pretty easy to do so.
And, I mean, if he's answering Akali in the side lane, well, QSS does nothing against Gangplank, right? Yeah, sure, you can QSS a slope, right? But, like,
when you walk off of it, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, though. It's Not a big deal. They're going for Zeyzal.
Oh, and almost gets the root into Zeyzal, does flash away in time.
Yeah, they got the shield out of Zeyzal with their last round of poke, so then they just decide, hey, we can actually hard engage, and that is great. You're trading out those ultimates for the flash of Zeyzal. Less playmaking available for him. He is going to have to be playing very, very carefully as well.
Yep.
That IE has come through here for Arrow, so he is monstrously strong if any sort of a fight does break out, but it's not even like Sivir is pressured to make something happen. This is not a 2-item Lucian. This is a champion that is going to scale very heavily in your late game and really benefits a ton from gold, and you're already almost 1,900 gold ahead of your counterpart. Like, that is an enormous lead for 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, normally, you know, people talk about the 500 CS Sivir win condition, but she doesn't need that much this game with all the plates she's gotten. This is the...
You don't need that much any game.
Well, I know. I'm baiting you into that one because I know how you feel about that phrase. But this is the 330 CS win condition, I feel like, or something, you know, something in between those two regardless. And
something less than 500.
Something less than 500 is probably
definitely not 500 CS win condition server.
Thank you. That is the phrasing that we're going to use for this entire rest of the game. As Arrow pushes into the mid lane and knocks a bit down, and now Niski and Blabber. Ooh, exclamation point over his head. There's Crown found out. Flashes, puts up a shield. It's not going to be enough. Niski finds every single Q and finds the kill in the top lane.
Yeah, great play there. They do commit the flash, but it is a trade of flashes. Crown decided to try to flash to get out. He does not even come close to escaping. So a wasted summoner from him there. And QSS is up on Niski as well. Cloud9 are pretty happy to kind of just wait and build up these playmaking abilities for when they go into a fight, because you know, Niski and Licorice now kind of dive with abandon into that back line. You have the Zonias on Blabber. Those are the tools they're going to use to try to defend themselves from any potential CC coming in from the side of OpTic.
Grouping up is Cloud9 with, of course, a defending member missing means that seat looks pretty good. The 4v3 is solid. They get that turret to about 2/3.
You know, it really is so interesting because I talked about the whole dynamic with Licorice buys QSS, so that means he's kind of a worse matchup against Dokla, but now Dokla goes into a Hex Drinker, so then you can kind of put Yasuo in the side lane against him. If you're going to be building Mertreads and a Hex Drinker, well, guess what? If you have to actually fight up against Yasuo, once Yasuo has IE, that is terrifying for the Gangplank. So, you know, there's kind of this whole dichotomy where the players can be swapping back and forth and trying to find advantageous matchups based on the builds. And I always really like to see how teams will handle their lane assignments in these types of games, because I think there is a lot of complexity to it, and it really can kind of showcase some of your in-game smarts.
Yep, and one interesting piece of texture here is the fact that there is no teleport for Niski. Crown has one, so he can side lane and TP to join the team. If Niski split pushes, they're probably going to him with his Ignite to get those kills, and now we're going to see yet again exactly that happening. Now Crown is flashless, set up his own ult, there's the body slam. They're going to certainly have the damage. Niski on the board for number 3.
Yeah, that is a huge kill for Niski, and he has 2,800 gold in his pockets. He hasn't based in a long time, so Niski actually has IE gold, and he was just sitting on the pickaxe, so now he is going to be insanely strong. That puts you at the 100% crit. You then really come online, not only in those side lanes, but if you can actually get on top of a carry in a team fight, that becomes devastating. So Niski at a really strong point here, and you can very much see Cloud9's game plan is, okay, well, Sivir is strong, great. We're not going to play towards the Sivir. We're going to push out the side lanes, and we're going to attack your side lanes constantly. And then it becomes on OpTic to try to do something about that. Can you utilize the Sivir ultimate and the Skarner ultimate to try to find engages and force fights in a position where Cloud9 doesn't want to be? Or can you set up vision around an objective and force them to come to you?
And that's the question, really, because C9 are doing their game plan. They are getting these kills on Niski. He's getting farther ahead. He's going to just evaporate Crown next time they meet 1v1. In the mid lane, Sivir has some farm, but isn't knocking turrets down. She's wave clearing and trading gold back and forth. And yeah, you're at 50 CS, but until you get into 3-item team fights, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Sivir has a 2k gold lead in her matchup, but if you're not part of the fight, you know, C9, even despite that, is up over 1,000 gold. So the lead becomes very, very big when you're excluding both these players. So if Ezreal can just sit mid lane and trade farm against Sivir, that's great, because Ezreal's so much weaker than Sivir right now, and that is going to put your solo laners in a position where they really can run the map.
Crown playing defense. He had been the aggressive split pushing win condition for so many of OpTic's games here. And that has been denied. That is C9 pretty heavily target drafting and saying, no, we're going to get a good solo lane matchup, and we're going to make sure Nisqy can answer this rise. That so far has been true. QSS on that champion will really make sure he is not getting picked up by Skarner. He can withstand a lot of what Rise tries to do. Empowered Rune Prison goes away. That 1.5 second route not going to exist for him anymore.
Yeah, and I think it is so cool, hearing Zabatine talking about this and watching the draft. This really is a classic example of C9 banning the team, not the meta, right? Because if you looked at this and you turn the nameplates off, as we may see it dive, probably won't take it, but giving over things like Yuumi and Sivir and these champions that are such high priority, and even Skarner and NA can be very concerning, but it makes a lot of sense given the context that OpTic have been prioritizing Sejuani and Poppy and these champions so heavily. So we're going to get to see, can Cloud9 prove that this is the right way to approach it? You don't ban players.
My Dokla, he's going to try to get away. Second ult is available. Pops in. One more hit will kill. Trying to kite. He's trying to kite. It's not enough. Licorice takes the solo kill, and back goes the squad. Knockups chained together, but big damage to the front line. They might just find that kill. It's already Sivir dead, though. It's actually an outnumbered fight. OpTic getting the heals, though. Nisqy cannot quite get in. The red buff isn't enough on Meteos. He's going to just barely live, and it's actually 3 unanswered kills by the slimmest of margins. C9 come out ahead.
Yeah, but now they can go to Baron, slim margins or not. Blabber's still alive here. They have 4 members in the area, and Licorice is running over. They win across the map, and funny enough, the QSS on the slow actually ended up mattering in that 1v1. Big is here. Meteos is alive, but he's low health and no smite, so not really any conceivable way that Meteos can get in and try to challenge this.
Yep, there's the auto. There is the smite. There's the pickup. Cloud9 grab that one. Actually, they're hungry looking for more. Not quite going to kill Meteos. Gets a couple of heals out from Big, but that is a Baron picked up without contest and a gigantic gold lead for Cloud9.
Yeah, Cloud9 now so far ahead. When you lose even where you're strongest, which is at that Sivir, at the same time as your solo lane is getting solo killed in the bot lane, that is very, very concerning for OpTic. And now, when you have full run of the side lanes already, C9 now with 5 Baron buffs can really start to knock down a lot of turrets. You can go into the 1-3-1 and be in such a damn good position to really clean up a lot of gold. I mean, there's 2 tier 1 turrets still on the map, and you're already up 4 or 5k. You should at the very least be able to get these turrets down.
I think a lot is going to be picked up very quickly here. C9 knocked down mid lane outer. Akali is alone without answer at bot lane. So that was going to fall shortly as well, and the gold will keep ramping up. The 25, then 3,000 as time pushes forward. But you have to see it. We know what's happening. Down goes the turret. Quick pickup there. The rubble is all that you can see afterwards. OpTic starting to lose more and more control of the map.
Yeah, and it is interesting, though. C9 are deciding to keep Nisqy with the team. I think they are worried about any potential engage from OpTic, so they're going to keep a 4-man squad because he has no teleport instead of actually putting him out in the side lane hard committee, but they're going in.
There's the dive. Mid lane Meteo's going to be dropped. They get the trade kill. A very important one at that. A second, and Crown could jump right in. He's got the squad with him. Is there the way in? They don't quite have the vision to find the next ones. The 2-for-1, though, that is something at least on the side of OpTic.
Yeah, definitely a bad trade there for C9. You have the Baron buffs. You don't need to try to go so heavily for that dive. Instead, they look to pull it off, but diving into Yuumi is so damn hard because of all the healing, the shielding, the ultimate, and now they're actually going to lose the mid lane turret. Infernal is up. They could possibly lose that as well, but Licorice is continuing to push here. It's going to be a TP from Crown back to base to try to clear this out, and now Licorice will head over towards that Infernal, and C9 will start it. Neither team has their jungler, though, and OpTic has more members on the map right now.
But if they don't show up, it's going to just go over to C9 by formality. There's certainly a ward there that knows it's happening, but they're not coming down in time, so Cloud9 will grab second Infernal. They will walk back away from this one. Most of the gold they earned post-Baron was turned back by that prior fight. The shutdown on Nisqy, pretty important there.
Yeah, OpTic not feeling like they could actually challenge that dragon simply because they didn't have any vision really in the area to kind of. Yes, they had the one ward, but it's turned off. It's very difficult when you don't have eyes on Licorice. Face checking that Akali would have been really, really terrifying. But yeah, as you say, a lot of the Baron gold that they have picked up did kind of go down the drain on this dive. So here it is one more time. They want to look for the aggressive play, throw down the ult, but that is a one-man ult onto the tank. And they are diving on Meteos with that. I think he thought that it may have connected on Crown, or that the Yasuo ult could still hit Crown there. You know, if you get that initial kill on a carry, maybe the fight looks different, but that was not really close to working out. Sivir and Yumi were still full HP, as was Crown. So Cloud9 not able to make that happen, but still in a good spot, still up 5k. Will knock down another tower here and did grab the second Infernal, which is very, very big for them, given that there's so much damage being built across the board here, you know, with the full AP Gragas as well.
Yeah.
You know, and Gragas is actually really strong quietly here also. 3 items completed plus the Sork boost. That is getting into the 1 combo range for some of these squishy characters.
Yep, definitely a lot of burst damage available there. The only difficulty is the tanks are non-existent. Crown gonna roam warp out. He should get away. Showing his patriotism with the skin choice, and he's gonna be fine. The turret is low, but it'll stay alive as Licorice knocks down the rest of these minions. 5.5 remains the gold lead in thousands for C9 here. Looking to tie first place with the win right there. OpTic 4-0, Cloud9 just that 1 game behind.
And 4 QSSs on the table now makes Meteos' job very, very hard. 4 QSS plus Zhonya's becomes very difficult. You can expect Blabber to go in, immediately throw down his ult, and then just trade it to his Zhonya to try to deny that. And for Meteos, it becomes about, you know, trying to force out a QSS with your Fracture Stun or hoping that there is a QSS used on something else, but they're actually looking for the engage right now.
Nice side step. Meteos gets away from the knockup. They're going to find the root. They might try to pull, but of course he has QSS, pops it, and forces the flash out. So Zeyzal down several big summoner spells. No summoners up.
And Meteos actually played that really, really well, but despite that, you know, Blabber, or rather Zeyzal, held his QSS the whole time for the ultimate. They got the Yumi root, doesn't QSS that. They get the Fracture Stun, doesn't QSS that. Then he has to use the Skarner ultimate and does get the QSS flash, but still not able to execute on a kill. And we'll see if they can actually try to get back and attack Zeyzal one more time, because the QSS cooldown will be longer than that of the ultimate from Skarner.
It's a big one. So there is the opportunity for round 2. Baron spawns in 50 seconds, and that's pretty close to about when QSS is back up. It's 90, and it's halfway done. So pretty similar right there. If they wait too long, it will be available. We'll see if the opening does arise as items keep coming through. As you mentioned, Phantom Dancer is done for Arrow, Guardian Angel added to make sure he's not getting dove. The back line has damage and durability here for OpTic's side. There really is some great damage output available if the fight goes the right way. There are no tanks on Cloud9's side, not really.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, despite the gold lead, I think the gold means very, very little at this point in the game. You know, if it's a 1v1, yeah, sure, but if it does end up in a 5v5 situation, I think it's almost entirely about the engage from Cloud9. If you have a failed engage, or if you have that one-man Yasuo ult on Meteos, and Crown and Arrow are free, these guys are really, really strong. Sivir is 4 items. You know, is going to be putting out a tremendous amount of damage. GP ult over top when you have multiple melee members. You know, there's 4 melee on the side of Cloud9 going to be stacking into that. So you have to have a perfect engage.
He's luring. They're going to find a little bit of the front line. 2 kills instantly. And now it's the chase down. Meteos is running for his life. He'll get away, but look at the explosions. All about the engage, and that was found by Cloud9.
Yeah, that engage was perfect. I talked so much about it. In they went. Even able to block that Q from the barrel, so not able to clear out the wave. They will get an inhibitor here, and then likely going straight back over towards that Baron. No minion waves to continue the siege, so they will have to try to back off. But that was just a beautiful engage. You can see Crown not able to flash, Big not able to get summoners off. They just erased those 2 members immediately.
And it's again a flashless Skarner. The blast plant will easily be taken out by Niski, and the way in is going to be difficult. Liquid puts the ward down. He will be on zoning duty in case they find Meteos. He'll come and knock him down. And now 4,000 health on Baron. Meteos not allowed in. It's all darkness. That is a pickup cleanly now for Blabber. The engages have been on point, and C9 again, an uncontestable Baron.
Yeah, no way for Meteos to be able to do anything here. And here's the pro view replay. They're looking for Crown coming in from multiple sides. Ooh. That was sick.
It was him by himself.
EQ flash there. So the AoE knock-up off the end of his flash, that was just beautifully done there from Niski. Unassisted knock-up gets the ultimate, and Licorice was coming in from the side at the same time with the ultimate. So that was really, really clean play from Cloud9, and that is the sort of aggressive play and perfect execution that you need to pull off a comp like this.
Yep. They got the perfect champions, the squishies, no Zhonya's allowed. Yumi couldn't put anything more on.
Yeah. And look at Crown now. Zonius and a stopwatch. So he knows this next fight is going to be so important. He is going for double stasis, essentially, here, trying to make sure he can stay safe. You can see the Arrow has his QSS on top of that GA. You can see GA, though, has been completed for Niski. He still has his Mercurial available. You know, Sneaky now is on 4 items, so he is becoming pretty relevant in this game as well. Like, Cloud9 are closing in.
Meteos finds some damage on the Lakers, but not going to find much more. Once again, the attempted dive is in. They're going to find the root maybe, but no kills at all. The turret's going to drop right there. It's a clean pickup there as Crown now rejoins the crew. Will there be a refight? The Barrel's not going to find a slow. It's been able to take the turret. Now with Baron buff on, the inhibitor should be very, very easy. Waiting for their even is a defense.
Yeah, I mean, Licorice also escorting in supers in the mid lane, now going to that top lane to buff up those minions, and they are looking to try to poke this out, but Sneaky is taking a fair bit of damage. Yuumi and Sivir still a very big threat here. If you misstep, you can get chunked down very, very easily. Cloud9, though, do want to continue pushing for this. They will get another inhibitor here. 2 inhibitors now down.
And waiting for the next one to drop as the top lane siege seems okay enough for Licorice. Pushing Crown underneath his own turret. There's a lot of minions to contend with now for the OpTic side. Wards to be swept out as C9 roams to the top side. We have the ults back available for the next engage. They can find Crown or Dokla or someone they can kill him pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're kind of just getting pincered in here. Still a minute left on the Baron as well.
Attempt. Roll pop, a Sneaky just simply arcane shifts backwards. Zayzone last hits the barrel. That could have been a lot of damage out of Dokla, who does have some armor pen in the build. He has
Good
extra
spell
burst
shield.
damage. An Arrow, big spell shield, as you mentioned, does not get explosive cast. And that was the engage Tulip Blabber was hoping was going to land, but good reflexes keeps the OpTic bot laner alive.
Yeah, that was critical. That would have been the game ending right there had he actually gotten hit by that. Very likely, but still. The last inhibitor is down. Last inhibitor
Big
turret.
damage on the Crown. There's the first Zonia's Hourglass. How about the second one? That's the stopwatch. And that's a kill into Dokla. 1 for 0. Cloud9 diving in towards Arrow. Make it kill number 2. And the Guardian for number 3. There's that kill onto Yuumi. And this is all she wrote. It is over. And Cloud9 will tie first place. They will take the 4-1 record, knocking down the undefeated OpTic.
Yeah, really well executed game there from Cloud9. Very impressive stuff. And such a fun game to watch. Really interesting pickman phase here. Targeting OpTic and their comfort picks so heavily, what they have shown us here in summer. Getting a lot, though, on the OpTic side out of that bot lane. They did great in the 2v2, but were never able to convert it. And Cloud9 was so good at executing in the side lanes, utilizing the super strong jungler as well as the solos, that they were pulling apart OpTic and always finding these fights.
Really good stuff there. And, you know, unfortunately, OpTic couldn't quite put it together. They had an absurdly strong bottom lane. They got their own leads 2-on-2. Very early turret, lots of gold lead, but it did not convert. Their way through the mid game was not there. It was simply Sivir sitting in the mid lane and trading from a Ezreal. And once team fight started, well, it was already too late. It was Cloud9 dictating when and where they came in, getting a kill, and picking their opponents off time and again. So Arrow unable to carry, and that seemed like more Macro's fault than his fault.
Yeah, definitely. I think that they just weren't able to convert on where they were strong. They weren't able to keep up, you know, in those 1v1s, in those 2v1s, with the jungle kind of arriving. And Yasuo Gragas really such a powerful duo there.
Yep.
Able to kind of very easily execute on those side lane kills. The question for me, really going forward for OpTic side, is going to be, does everyone now just kind of emulate this pick ban strategy, right? Is everyone just going to ban out comfort for OpTic and say, okay, this is the way you play against OpTic? And, you know, if that becomes the case, OpTic then has to show you that they can win with other strategies. And thus far, you know, not able to do this, but this was one of the very best teams in the league, certainly, if not the strongest team in the league right now, Cloud9.
Yeah.
So no shame in losing to them, and OpTic still sitting pretty at 4-1, tied now with Cloud9.
Fans might line up. We'll see how the play style goes. Regardless, a great win for Cloud9. Let's send it down to Pastry, who is ready for an interview with C9's explosive jungler.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Blabber. Blabber, I talked to you yesterday as you've been playing in Academy Super Week. So when did you know you were going to be playing in LCS today?
I found out yesterday after my match, actually, that I would be playing today. I was scrimming this week, so I was pretty prepared, I'd say.
And how much time did you actually get to play with Niski? And I know you've played a lot of Gragas Yasuo with Golden Glue. You played even with Jukes on the Academy side as well. How much time did you get to practice certain combinations with Niski?
It wasn't that much practice this week because of my Academy schedule. I also scrimmed all our Academy games too, so I didn't get that much time, but I've been playing Gragas Yasuo for a while now, so I'd say I'm pretty experienced with it.
I'd say I'd agree. Final question for you, Blabber. Will we see you play tomorrow?
You will find out.
All right, Blabber, thank you very much, and congratulations on the win today. We are going to throw it back now to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Pastry time. Cloud9 handing OpTic their very first loss of the split. And before we get into this segment, in the LCS stock market, Crumbs put a lot of faith behind OpTic. So let's go ahead and check in, see how the floor is responding to their first loss.
Dead pandemonium over here, Dash. You gotta sell. Everybody needs to sell. Ted, sell. They're gonna get out of here. You can't wait. Sell. Ted, sell. Back to you, Dash.
Straight pandemonium.
Really? Because Ted looked pretty calm. It didn't look like anybody. Ted looked okay.
Ted was like us. He already sold before the segment.
Ted was unfazed, without a doubt unfazed. But in reality, I do want to talk about the first loss that OpTic suffered here. Let's start in Champion Select, because while Blabber subs in for Cloud9, they bring Academy Champion Select along with it. Already mentioned the Gragas Yasuo coming in for Cloud9.
The more interesting to me part for me is what they did to OpTic's draft, where they're like, yeah, we don't care about banning power picks. We're banning Poppy, which is Dokla's only champion in their minds, and we're banning Meteos' only two champions in Sejuani and Olaf. So they're hard targeting strategies that they've seen these guys perform on, which they're not meta strategies, but that's fine.
And the scary part about it, right, is when you look at this draft phase, if you took out the teams, you're like, oh my God, they got Yuumi and Ryze. How did this draft phase happen? Because it's so ingrained, like these are the power picks, that's the danger of giving them over, to get those target bans.
And they even take it a step further. Oh, Ryze is a flex pick. They're like, no, it's not. I'm playing Yasuo mid into Ryze. You're not giving that to Dokla. So they kind of already were calling out the Ryze going mid when they took their mid jungle duo of Gragas and Yasuo. And it's such a good Ryze counter.
You had raised this question last week. Great to see OpTic at 4-0, but what happens when the very first team does call them on some of these things within Champion Select? I want to roll that into play as well, because Cloud9 continued to put pressure on the top lane with multiple ganks from Blabber going up there, as well as a solo kill out of Licorice on the Akali.
This is what happens when you're not on Poppy. You're in a lot more fragile of a matchup, and jungler attention actually matters a lot. If you shut down a Poppy like this, okay, it's not quite as bad because he can still run in there and throw his ult up and be a frontline. GP, when he's getting shut down and not getting gold, really does struggle to contribute the way that you're used to seeing a GP pop off. So the fact that they were able to make a lot of plays on the top side in this more volatile matchup was huge, and something that people can probably blueprint a little bit.
Yeah, and I think this really highlights how confident C9 are with Licorice and with Blabber, and how good those two were in exploiting this weakness that they open up in Champion Select. They're fine giving up multiple power picks, knowing that whatever's left over, we'll grab it for Licorice. Oh, the Akali's left. Perfect. Assassin. Blabber, go up there, dive him, get those kills onto Licorice, and that's going to be their way to win this game. I know that any game Cloud9 sub Blabber in is going to be a fun game to watch.
Without a doubt.
Because he's going to be chaining off ganks like this, and with the Gragas having, multiple synergies to go with, it really did work.
And while those top lane clips rolled out, you may have noticed some CSD statistic pop up on your screen. Of course, Licorice did have an advantage in the top lane, but similarly, the bot lane for OpTic, that Sivir and that Yuumi were doing work.
That's the cost that we talk about when we were going over Champ Select. You're giving over these power picks. Yuumi, one of the most hotly contested, basically permaban for bottom side, because of what it can do. The bottom lane pushed down their own turret before C9 were even able to get turret plates off of the top side. Arrow was the win condition here for OpTic in this one. The super fed Sivir with the Yuumi, and at times it was very close. I think OpTic actually had quite a lot of strengths in this match.
It's one of those things where we're talking about, oh, look how telegraphed OpTic is and look how you can counter them in the draft, but then they still make good team fight decisions in the mid game that make this a very close game, and you're left wondering, okay, well, maybe it's telegraphed. How many teams can take that and still punish it the way C9 did? Because they're the best jungle top duo in the league right now, and yes, they crushed Dokla, and that was their win condition, but TSM hasn't looked good when they used to be one of the teams that could do it. That was never Team Liquid's play style. For the most part, Golden Guardians doesn't go top lane, so yes, this is something that was telegraphed, and anyone could have said, yeah, just hard camp Dokla and ban his Poppy, but how many teams in the league can really do that when the bot lane's winning by 30 CS and Crown was having a good mid game?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, this does go to show that OpTic, not that #1 team to rule the LCS, and Crown's probably at fault for keeping all of his stock in there, but they are a very good team.
Yes.
They were 7th place. I completely expect them to be a playoff team, maybe in the upper half of the playoff teams.
All right.
The only other thing I throw in is Crown shut down the side lane. He had an okay laning phase, but then once they started picking on him in a side lane, that was another way OpTic won a lot, was mid to late game split pushing, and that got shut down, and it felt like OpTic ran out of plays.
OpTic suffers their first loss of the split, but no cause for concern just yet. Up next, it's Counterlogic Gaming versus Echo Fox. If that matchup has you hankering for an upgraded viewing experience, check out ProView at riot.com/ProView. Follow Rush's Pathing or Power of Evil's mechanics with POV streams and catch every little move up until the Nexus explodes. Game 3 is coming up after this.
New Twitter account, who dis, for the LCS, and now it's a top lane fight. Orange is popped, Crown has to run, but he has been found out. But Akali, does she have the damage? He's got a shield as a trade, 1-for-1. The fight still continues, though. A slow and a sneaky.
Rises.
Oh, Ryze is moving bot.
Yo, no special. Just ult him.
Hey, he's 1 HP. He's dead. I can go with you, Eric, actually.
GP Fox.
Go. Yumi's dead.
That's a kill on Adokla, 1-for-0. Cloud9 diving in towards Arrow, make it kill number 2, and the Guardian is up for number 3. There's that kill on Yumi, and this is all she wrote. It is over, and Cloud9 will tie first place.
A great product can define the present, but it takes the unprecedented to define the future. To go beyond what's next and change the world of gaming. To make history, break ground, and force the universe to take notice. The world's most powerful and most upgradable gaming laptop with Intel Core processors, the Area 51M, defines the future of gaming.